Meeting to order. Roll call.
Vote,
Here.
Deers, here, Lux, here, Lucero.
Here.
Campbell.
Here. Stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looks like we just need to approve the agenda tonight with an addition under new business. H, approve the swimming contract.
Motion to approve. We also have, some more under 134A under the contract list. We have the middle school CTE instructor, Rev. Beefler, how do you say that, Mr. Beagle?
Right.
Okay. 60,000. And Leah Peterson is the elementary special ed instructor, 68,000. And then under 135A, a thank you from Gwen Hess.
Okay, anything else?
No.
All right, now,
Now I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
all in favor? Motion carries. Do we have any waiver authorization? So approve the minutes from the February 11th, 2025 meeting. They were all sent out by Mary earlier. If there's any changes, if not, we would need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from February 11th, 2025.
All right, all in favor? Next item is 131 expenditures. Again, you can either choose to motion to approve all of those items, or we can pull them up individually if you need to.
Make a motion to approve expenditures under the one A through C.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Next item is 132 financial statements, same things, A through K, and or you can pull out any items that you have questions on.
Make a motion to approve items A through K.
Second.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is 133 patrons and other. We have Bruce Pence here with the audit.
I just want to stop, we finished up the audit several weeks ago. They've been working on it in the office. Russ, the auditor general, called me this morning. It's all ready to go. As soon as I get my stuff in tonight and tomorrow morning, as far as that rep letter and everything, Margie should get a email or something. We have to file the report with the feds because of the grant. It goes to the federal clearinghouse. But when Russ talked today, it should all be ready to go and have her out tomorrow. So just had a couple letters you guys should all have in your packet. One is on your guys' letterhead. We call that our representation letter. Just get some things in writing that were discussed throughout the course of the audit. And it's a standard letter we've been issuing for ever, I think. The other letters are what we call our management letter. And it's how we communicate our findings, whatever findings we had. There were no written findings in the audit report. They would be in here too, but we had no written findings in the audit report. Or testing that we did, everything, financial statements were fairly presented, we got a clean opinion, didn't have any problems with the grants. Yes, our grant went a little smoother, there wasn't any construction this year, so that helped. And hopefully this is the last year, I think she's got about $20,000 left or something to spend.
We're done.
Or did you get it all?
25 was it. We're done. FY25.
You had some after the beginning in September or something, but we probably won't have to test that because it wasn't in.
Curriculum.
Yeah. So, anyway, that stuff's all done. We'll be back to testing the title program. I think is what we've been testing in the past, special ed and food service. We've been doing them on a rotating basis unless something pops up again. So anyway, as you look through our management letter, it's one of our letterhead. We got, like you said, there's the three things to look at there: deficiencies in any internal controls, any violations of law, and any adjustments that are talked about there on top of the second page. And you can see the only thing we've got is an immaterial finding and some law violations that's been on there for a couple of years. Where some of those old outstanding checks, we're supposed to turn them over to the state, and the law that says you're supposed to do that after they're a year old. you guys have been trying to manage it yourself. There's still a few hanging out there. I think she's trying to catch some of the old, some student checks or something. I think that, I don't know. I think I talked to her this year during the audit and I said, just make up a list and try, and that you've tried to communicate as best you can to try to find these people and you can't. Write them off, get rid of them, but keep a list in case something would turn up. They'd happen to clear the bank or something, so you'd know. So. Other than that, I don't really have anything to talk about the report. I've got one other thing I was gonna mention. It's not a criticism, it's not a finding, but something we noticed, over the years. I think Margie got a handout for everybody.
This is just the balance sheet and food service, front and back.
And if you look down at the bottom, I think she highlighted it, the net position amount is highlighted in yellow. This is the first year, I've been doing the audit for about 20 years and it's always been a positive number. Last year that number was 105,000. Your cash balance last year was 141,000. That's the first number up on the top. This year, cash is down to 20 and that net position number is negative $99,000. Something to be aware of. Like I said, it's not a finding or anything. I think Margie said that you guys have got a couple $100,000 in the budget to transfer over there from general fund. And I think there's some other things that have contributed to it also, the way she's talked. Your numbers are down, the revenue, federal reimbursement is down, I think. I think some of your expenses are up a little bit. So there's multiple things that caused it. Well, now you guys get to make the decision how to fix it.
Well, and I think you'll see on the board report, the food service is like a negative 79,000. It just keeps getting bigger each month. But my plan is, once we figure out what we're short a whole year, is to make that transfer June. Instead of doing it monthly, unless you don't want to see a negative on that report, I can do it monthly, but kind of up to you guys how you want to see the financial reported. Like I said, I can do one monthly or just wait till the end of the fiscal year and do it at the end of the year. The transfer from general fund will transfer cash over from general fund to food service, and that would help that negative.
And the bank account, it's all one bank account, so the bank account's not overdrawn. So,
Isn't it cleaner to do it at the end of the year?
That's how I would prefer to do it, is at the end of
Makes
the
more
year.
sense.
As far as the bank account, we got general fund, capital outlay, special ed, and food service, and fund 53, the driver's ed. All of those accounts are in the bank account. So
I mean, negative is fine as long as at the end of when we go to the end, we know where it's at.
Right.
I'm fine with just waiting till the end.
Is this partially, do you think, because we don't have the COVID funding anymore for free lunches?
Well, with the COVID funding, the federal reimbursement rate was a whole lot higher. And now it's not. We've got a food service director the last couple of years. So like I say, expenses are going up, food costs are going up.
And our participation is a little bit low too. I would also note that, and it's maybe something we're not totally used to in this district historically, but in a broader sense, it's really not unusual for a school district to backfill their food service from the general fund. It's a fairly common practice. And it's very like we've been had been fortunate in the past, but it's very hard to have a solvent food service fund. It's something not a lot of schools accomplish, so.
Were we still struggling? Was it you, Margie? Can't remember who it was that said that our numbers were lower, or kids participating in the free lunch program, free reduced lunch program.
Yes, our free and reduced applications are lower. So, I mean, we used to be around 40–50%. Now we're like at 30. You do get a higher reimbursement rate for free and reduced versus the paid, and the majority of ours are all paid.
Thank you.
other than that, I don't have anything else. If you guys don't have any other questions, I'll get out of your hair so you can continue on, but thanks for all the help with Margie and all her staff, and didn't have to have Bill help me this year with the ESSER money, so.
Thank you as always for
Thank you.
this. We appreciate it. All right, next one is the introduction of Teacher of the Year and Employee of the Year.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start. Dan, I would like you to introduce our district teacher of the year, since you teach in your building.
Of course.
Yeah. In the back row, so.
All right. District Teacher of the Year is Stephanie Campbell.
Yes.
Well deserved. She does a lot of work for us.
Employee of the year, we got Mike Lofen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you feel like good, Bob, you might stay another year.
All right, well, thank you guys for everything that you do. I know you've been with our district a long time, and we appreciate it. All right. Got anything else? No? All right, thank you guys very much. And
They got like kind of.
Okay. All fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So we are on to new business contracts, resignations with those two method changes that Margie had earlier for the CTE and the other one.
Special ed,
Special ed.
elementary.
Okay, I'll just read down through them like I normally do. Certified subs at 135 a day, Macy Wise, Joshua Limmer. Classified substitute, Macy Wise. Resignations and retirements. Mike Loven, you just walked out the door, effective June 30th. Mark Jacobs, congratulations on your new position in Spearfish. Sorry to see you go. Also, and I think you're not sorry to see this one go, but he's resigning his middle school football coaching position. I think you did have some fun with that, but
A lot of fun.
it's tough as an admin. Mandy Ranapaw is resigning from the Ace Room paraprofessional, and that's some good news because you'll see the new job that she's taking here coming up. Mike Sneesby resigning head high school wrestling. Classified work agreements, Mandy Ranapaw, middle school technology assistant. And then an amended extra duty contract. Brandon Webb has been essentially working as the assistant varsity basketball coach rather than a C team coach. So his work agreement is being amended to reflect that. A little more pay there. Certified staff. Couple of elementary teachers, Riley Andrus at our base pay 51,000. Brianna Owen at base pay of 51,000. And then Trev Fiedler in the middle school CTE position. That was 60,000, is that correct?
Correct.
Yep. And then Leah Peterson, 68,000 elementary sped. And I tell you what, that elementary sped deal, we are like the envy of every school everywhere. They're like, you hired an elementary sped teacher? Yes, we did. Good job, Dave. Yeah.
So that's all of the contractor resignations, and we need action on that.
May I make a motion to accept with regret? Very sad to see some wonderful people leaving our district, and I wish them all best.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Next item is to approve the agreement that we received earlier today from Zach. If you want to review it at all, Zach, I don't know if anybody had questions or anything, but Zach kind of said some pretty good explanation as to why he was asking for it, so.
Yeah, just to touch on that, it'd be an exclusive deal with Under Armour through game one. It lasts 5 years, so the point of that would be at the end of our uniform rotation for all of our activities that have Under Armour uniforms. With that 5-year deal, like I said, it adds consistency and kind of solidifies our identity in our athletic programs. I sent them our 3 logos and our color codes through the school to go off of, so we won't just have people picking logos like this one to put on their stuff. They they've done a really good job so far of working with our coaches and myself when I send things that I need. I got a quote back already for some stuff to go into capital outlay for next year. They'll do online stores, for any of our sports. We can also order just, like shirts, sweatshirts, sweatpants, whatever through there, and then give those to our school store to put logos on. So they'll still be able to use our school store. Our students will still be able to design things for activities and groups that they've been doing as well. In our specific agreement, they're gonna give us 10% back on what we spend at the end of the year. They call them Under Armour bucks. So whatever we spend, we could use for a student store that everybody gets a discount code to. We could buy coaches apparel with that, or we could just apply that 10% to the next year's uniform orders. And then I sent an email earlier today with those 35% off footwear, activewear. There's some buy one, get one frees if you're gonna do home and away uniforms and you buy a set, they'll give you another set for free. So a lot of perks would kind of come with this.
So he's asking for an action item on the apparel agreement. If I don't know if you guys have any questions specifically for him.
They're gonna be able to accommodate all of our activities.
would-
Including cheer.
No, we wouldn't have to use them for cheers. So they could still like, for anything they don't handle or cover,
Right.
we would use any other distributor.
And the reason I asked is because I knew they didn't have uniforms, so I didn't know if that was something we had to have this super special secret agreement.
Cheer and dance both would be different, but yeah, it's kind of a selected market there anyway.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea. I like the idea of having that uniformity. And I also like the idea of us being able to get those discounts, and I have an Under Armour account myself, and let me tell you, those Under Armour bucks are great.
Oh, and the reason for Under Armour, because I didn't mention this, is they have a 4-week turnaround. So like one of our looks at Nike, they told us that if we were ordering football uniforms for next year, we would have had to order those in January to get them in that. But for Under Armour, it's guaranteed 4-week turnaround, so.
My experience with gear is pretty decent quality as well, so.
Yeah.
I guess if we're looking for a motion, I'd need a motion to accept that agreement. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Okay, motion carries, then we'll accept that agreement. Thank you for putting the time and effort into looking for that, that's good. Okay, next item is to review and approve the MOU for job.
Derek, I'll let
Yeah.
you speak to that a little
Okay.
bit.
Yeah, so, I guess I wanted to kind of run the board through just like a short history. We've had a lot of new board members in the last several years, some new administrators. I wager that probably Margie and Mary are the only people who probably really remember the history, and probably Bonnie as well. But just to give you guys a little context, so back in 1991, Box Elder Job Corps was one of the first Job Corps centers in the nation to pilot a high school program. Prior to that, it's pretty much GED and job training. We did that at that time as Black Hills Forest High School under some second chance funding under JEGLO. So we did that from 91 to 2002, where that program ended. So the outcomes for our students academically were significantly better than they were with just a GED program. And so it really kind of became a model for a lot of Job Corps centers around the nation. At this point, most have a high school program of some sort, and a lot of that started here. So in 2002, with that funding ending, we were looking for another partnership to kind of continue with it. About the same time, this school district was kind of cutting back on some of its CTE programs and teaching. So it looked like a good fit, kind of pair up and try and give students here access to some of the CTE programs that were there. Additionally, it was a financial benefit for the district. At that time, you guys were still in the state funding system. And so our enrollment meant money to the school district. So it worked out really well. Continue that partnership through 2006, which is when this district exceeded the funding limits for the state budget. You guys moved into your own funding formula. At that point, we nearly parted ways. We had to kind of look for a different way to do that rather than having the
tax dollars from the local community going to funding students that were for large part, not from the local community. So through that next year, managed to get some legislation passed, SB 155, that ended up providing us some limited funding, for students that come to Job Corps that are South Dakota students transferring from South Dakota high school. So we get that money essentially directly to our attendance center. It routes through the district. So Margie tracks a lot of that, and then gets funded to us for, teachers primarily, a little bit of school supplies and stuff like that. So, from 2007 till now, that's pretty much how we've operated and continued that partnership with you guys. The impact has been that, since, well, I can only go back to 2008 in campus, but since 2008, that's 517 high school graduates, that more than likely would not have had a high school diploma had it not been for that partnership. And 433 of those were South Dakota residents. So it's been a big benefit, I mean, to students alone, but also just to the community here in South Dakota. So that's kind of what brought us to this point. We renew this MOU every 5 years. So coming up in June, it's going to be time to renew again. But the department went through a program right now where they're setting out new minimum standards for quality at Job Corps centers at the high school programs that we participate with. You know, different states have different qualifications. Some states might need 16 or 17 credits to graduate. Some online programs need less than that. So they wanted to make sure that we have quality programs in the Job Corps system. We already meet all of those minimum stuff. 22 credits was the minimum. It's like 4 credits English, 3 credits math, really essentially what our state already requires. So we didn't have to really change anything that we're doing, but I did have to put those minimum qualifications into the new MOU. So in the new MOU, that's pretty much spelled out. Like I said, it's not anything different than what was already going on. It's essentially just meeting our state standards, continuing the practices that we already have. So that's spelled out in the new MOU. And there was some little bit change in some verbiage. I think there was some old verbiage in there that kind of said that the district had a responsibility for providing some teaching staff and some supplies, to the Job Corps campus, to support the high school program. The district does not have an obligation to do that really. The way it works is that, we're provided access to the money through an SB 155, to fund those things. So we changed that verbiage a little bit just to say that the district provides access, to those funds, to support staffing and supplies. So other than that, everything's pretty much kind of the same thing moving forward. You guys have any questions?
What did you say the number was for South Dakota grads?
433 since 2008. A little over 80%.
No, I think it's an excellent program for us to have. You know, even with my own work, we've started working with you guys directly. And it's really made a big difference in the kids that I work with.
So he is asking for an action on this to review and approve the MOU with Job Corps.
I'll make a motion to review and approve the MOU for Job Corps.
Second.
Motion and second made, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are on to the electrical bids for the high school.
Okay, so we opened those today. The low bid on that was $31,400 from Rath Electric. I'd recommend that we would take that bid.
That's kind of a win. We had budgeted 150,000. We've already got, you know, probably 50,000 in equipment that we've purchased. Then add this to it and
Add this and then the electrical engineer that we had to have
Yeah.
do that. I would say we're well under 100,000 right now, but
Good though.
And our insurance company has paid everything.
Yay. Sweet,
So,
that's good. Okay. Well, then we just need a motion to approve the low bid to Rath Electric for 31,400.
Make that motion.
Second. Okay. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is to review the cost estimates and initial design for the middle school project. We were gonna make a decision on this, but we decided to hold off and just get some more information today, so we're not making a decision today.
so one thing I would like to ask the board to do if we can, this is kind of huge. But like, if we can look at our calendars in the next few weeks here, and we can do it kind of after we have a little bit of discussion here. But maybe set a special board meeting date so that we can not feel rushed, but actually kind of talk this through a little bit. We'll give a little overview tonight, to kind of let you guys know what has changed, where we're at. We can discuss a little bit, but like, we're not making a decision tonight, so I don't think it has to be real long. Jason is here to explain some of the, did I say that right, Jason?
Yep, I'm
Yeah,
Jason.
okay. He's gonna explain what some of the changes were with, as far as I think the grade and the slope, correct? Okay, so I don't know how we want to start. I guess I'll just maybe, Jamie, if you want to pull up the latest cost estimate that we have. And I think we've got Michelle also on the line. We didn't tell her she had to be prepared to speak, but we did say if the board members have some questions, she's available for that. So anyway, and Bill, Margie, Jay, you can chime in anytime here as I kind of give a quick overview. But as we got into some more detailed cost estimating with JLG, we realized that the project was looking like it was gonna be up over that $2 million mark. And we had earlier talked about like maybe a $1.8 million figure. And so we talked about some different things, try and bring that more in line. And if we decide to go ahead with the project, you know, Bill and I kind of talked about having the ability to do the remodel work in the library, the new library area, do that in-house, as far as, you know, putting up a couple of walls. That's something that's within the scope of our maintenance staff. And then just kind of, Bill would kind of general that stuff as far as putting out for a bid for flooring and ceiling tile, painting. And we could kind of bring that down because there's not a lot of real big construction happening with that space, but kind of freshening it up. A little bit of walls happening. So that would be a little bit of a cost savings there. And then one of the big things was, well, a couple of things. Just kind of a more focused, realistic picture of what materials are gonna cost. Because when we started talking about this, it was all kind of talking about averages, you know, like a project of so many square feet averages about this much. Well, then the folks at JLG kind of started to look at more current material costs, et cetera, and just kind of sharpening the pencil to make sure that's accurate. And I guess I would rather get, and there's no guarantees, you know, things could come in when we bid it in May, things could come in even looking a little better. Could cost us a little less, or it could still go the other way. You don't ever know until you open those bids. But I feel better having a realistic picture of it now, rather than, you know, go through the cost estimating and we're saying, hey, it's gonna cost 1.8, and then we open the bids and they're 2.1 million. That's a pretty rude surprise. And then you're sitting there on the spot trying to adjust to that. So I'd rather have it a little high now and we have time to talk about it, figure out what we might do differently, or just looking at moving forward. So anyway, a big part of that too was some of the engineering that's being required. You know, you have a couple knuckleheads like Bill and I go out there and look at where we want to put that front entrance, and we eyeball that and like, oh, that'll work. You know, it's like kind of the old, like Ole and Lena joke where Ole gets a job in the underwear factory. He's a diesel fitter. And he holds up the underwear and says, diesel fitter. Yeah, so that's kind of like Bill and I doing the engineering. Look at it, yeah. And then Jason's gonna explain to us a little bit why the diesel fitter approach doesn't quite cover it. So Jason, if you want to get into that a little bit,
Sure.
some of the slopes and whatnot.
Yeah, so there's a PDF attachment. There's the 2 floor plans for the CTE renovation on the interior that show all the work that you guys have been discussing with JLG. But primarily I wanted to talk about the outside, which is the 3rd sheet down. So FMG Engineering, we're out of Rapid City, we're on the JLG design team. And we're tasked with doing the civil engineering on the exterior of the building. And our primary focus was adding a drop-off lane and having some ADA parking available to what is going to be the new front entrance to the middle school. So like everything in Lead, we have terrain and hills to deal with. Yeah, on the interior of the building between the current central doors and the door that we're going to be renovating, there's steps that go down. So there's already 3 feet of elevation change within the building between those 2 doors, which obviously the sidewalk follows. But then between the street level and those doors, there's another 4 feet of elevation change. If you've ever parked over on that corner of the school, those parking stalls are fairly steep. And with ADA, we have to provide basically flat accommodations to get people from their parking stalls or the end of the drop-off lane into the front door, which is our main entrance. We've gone back and forth with Eric and Bill on ideas to potentially move things, utilize the central doors, and really there's multiple ways to look at this, but they probably all involve similar things that just move to different positions. So what we've tried to do with our layout is optimize it closest to the door that we can. The shortest path you have between your parking spot and the door is probably the best option, and that's what we tried to do. It's tough to kind of look at this plan and really understand all that's going on. But at the new door location, there's basically an elevated platform that you would have to come down off of to say cross the street. So there's 2 or 3 stairs that you would have to come down to reach that level, and then you would be navigating that kind of steep spot where the cars are currently parking. To the right-hand side of that, we placed the 2 ADA parking stalls. And if you want to think about it, we basically can't touch the street, and we can't lower the door. So we're hinging that hillside up to be flat and then navigating to the door. So there's kind of a real steep space between the street and that ADA parking stall. But then from then on, it's got to be flat with a couple of ramps with handrails to get to that front door. There is, the drop-off lane is essentially the same length as it was in the conceptual designs. There is a power pole existing. At one point, we thought maybe we could incorporate that into an island, but that shortens up our drop-off lane considerably and moves the accessible spot where you were to drop somebody off further away from our front door. So we are actually driving between a new sidewalk and that pole. We're putting up some bollards to mitigate any impacts to that pole from vehicles, but it's very visible. I don't see, it's already there. If you were to try to park today, there's a pole to navigate around. So it's not going to be a change in condition from what people are really used to. But in the estimate originally for this project, the exterior improvements were maybe $45,000 or $50,000 just based on that square foot approach of we're gonna have to do this many square feet of sidewalk. And it was a pretty minimal cost that was thrown at that square footage with some of the stairs, and they're not really, we call them retaining walls, but they're 18 inches high. But you can't have an 18-inch drop off without a handrail. So it does incorporate some of those features. By the time you add up all this geometry and the curbs and the stairs and the elevation changes and the ramps and the handrails, we're conservatively estimating like $190,000 instead of $45,000. There's features that can be massaged to work better, look better. But the features are really kind of still going to be there in that form or another and generally cost about that much. Now, we've conservatively estimated that so that we would hope that it would not ever be higher than that value. We're hoping that it would be less, but like Eric said, we want to come up with what's probabilistic and be prepared for that now rather than later. Some of the challenges we had to deal with, there's obviously the power poles. There was one concept where the turn lane or the drop-off lane would continue all the way along in front of the school and exit onto Arlington Street. But there's existing fire hydrant and existing power pole there that we can't really move to make that happen. And we do not want to go to the expense of relocating the fire hydrant or the water associated water main. So that's another grade impact that we're trying not to change right there. In fact, I still need to meet with the water system to make sure that they're okay with, we have to remove 18 inches to 2 feet of cover over the top of their water main. Typically, those have to be buried 6 feet deep so they don't freeze. So we'll have to add some insulation board where we reduce that cover so that they can still feel comfortable that their water main won't be impacted. But adding some insulation is a lot cheaper than digging up and relocating the water main and the fire hydrant. That would be a significant additional cost. So we're doing everything we can from our lens, looking at the world to mitigate the cost impacts, but it is, the exterior was more expensive than originally anticipated.
And I do appreciate the work that Jason has done here. Maybe it didn't seem like that at first, because when he first presented this, I'm like, oh, come on, but I do appreciate it, because hearing him talk about it, it's gonna be right. So like we're gonna not have issues with people with limited mobility. It's gonna be done right. So I appreciate that. Another thing to note is, there's a chance too that our construction contingency, when you look at what we have budgeted, may cover a good portion of some of these added costs. However, we're not just banking on that. We're not just kind of slushing it together and saying, well, hey, if we just kind of tell the board this is gonna come out of the contingency, then 4 to 6 months from now, there's a chance you might be calling me a liar. We're just trying to get everything out there as best we can to know where we're at. So like I said, there's a chance when it's all said and done, if we don't run into a lot of things that are gonna dip into that contingency, might look a little better. But I just don't want to count on that at this stage in the process, because that contingency is there for a reason. Comments or questions that you guys have?
You guys seen any major changes with material costs recently?
Actually, we're seeing more competition from local contractors, where we used to see kind of 1 or 2 bids. Now we're getting back to the 3, 4, 5 bids. So we're hoping that competition is coming back. Material costs, not a lot of materials on this project are impacted by tariffs, but I haven't seen any impacts of that yet. But our materials have been steady in the last year. They were really not steady before that.
Anybody else have any questions, concerns? Kind of first overall thought before you need to delve into it a little? Are you comfortable with that cost difference?
One thing I was gonna ask that's not related to any of this is if anybody has been tracking like Senate Bill 216 and some of those property tax bills that were passed that affect what schools pay tax. And I don't know if there's a way that we can, if the Association of School Boards was tracking some of that, because I know like Senate Bill 216 passed yesterday. And that had some caps on, I don't understand it all the way, but I would like to know if any of that is gonna affect what we can ask in capital outlay. I think we should really look into that. And there's been a lot, I mean, there was a lot of property tax bills, I don't even,
A lot of
been
them got,
even tracking.
a lot of them got pushed.
I don't think,
In the past.
let me do some checking, but I don't think 216 is gonna impact this, but let me, before you take that to the bank, let me.
As far as capital outlay though, it wouldn't, because our capital outlay is funded on our students. And then they have a number that the legislators, it usually increases CPI or 3%, whatever.
I think that,
So it's, oh, was that in there as well?
I think they limited what the cap is to like 2%. I'm not exactly sure, but they,
Right, they're limiting growth.
yeah, but wouldn't that also, if our CPI and growth is what we can ask for, would that limit it, if they're limiting what the growth is?
You probably not, because our, like, we'd be up against the per student cap. So like our enrollment numbers would impact us before the growth factor on the levy, if that kind of makes sense.
I'd say maybe, I don't think you need to probably answer it today, but that'd be a good question before we have our meeting. Maybe kind of take another look at some of those ones that passed that would come into effect and just see if it's gonna affect us, this project.
Yeah.
I think is kind of, that's kind of what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
kind of double check and look at some of those.
Yeah, I would say, so just initially, that was the first thing that I kind of was thinking of, and then also if we could have a meeting with the city to look at the fire hydrant and the water lines and things like that, because if the design needs to change based on what the city's feedback is, that's gonna impact the cost also. And then, maybe that would give us enough time to have a better estimate on the storm and sewer cost that's not in here.
The storm and sewer, we're not 100% sure on yet, though.
Okay.
We're waiting for some testing to be done on that yet. There is a slight possibility that it might be where it's supposed to be, but they're pretty much thinking it's not, but
So then that, in theory, could be another added cost.
it could be.
Do you have an idea when you think you might have that information?
Do not know. I have called the guy that does the testing on that and he has not gotten back to me.
So would it be prudent right now to, look at our calendars, to talk about that special meeting? Amber, I think you had some hard limitations on when you'd be available, right? How soon? Like possibly next week.
The forum is Tuesday. The school board forum and the mayor forum is March 18th.
Well, and I think I put in there.
I think what you had sent earlier said you could do like a morning meeting.
Yeah, March 17th, I can do 5:30, March 18th, I can do 7:30 AM, or really need to, we can push it to 4 o'clock, but I'd rather not do it that night.
You should have mission on the 17th, correct?
Yeah, I don't know, are you looking for approval of all of this by next week? Cause I don't know unless some of this stuff is hammered out, if I'll be able to
Okay,
make a good decision.
so which stuff are you wanting hammered out? Like,
Probably a meeting with the city to make sure the city's on board with the design and that, and maybe the testing from the storm, if that could be a additional cost, and the legislation.
yeah, what do you guys think? Like, you're gonna be out of town like that last week of March, is that right?
I leave the 19th and I'll get back till the 21st.
Okay, so like,
So like the 27th, this was also related to the negotiation question is what I sent you. March 27th, I'd be available anytime, the 28th morning only, 31st not available. Shit, but I still don't, I think ultimately what I hear is none of us are probably gonna be real comfortable without having that. What it's
Right.
gonna cost us for the sewer and water. Question.
Bill, when do you think we can get
We
that
haven't even
kind
heard
of,
back from him yet.
I haven't heard back from him yet. I'll press on him again tomorrow morning.
yeah? So maybe we just want to push it back to the regular April meeting, but, I don't know how much discussion we'll need, if we have the information you need.
I don't think doing that testing is gonna take all that long. It's just getting them up here to do it.
Do you guys want to just do that? Do you want to address it again, April 8th?
I think
That
if
would
we're
give us that
pushing
time.
it to the last week of March, well, it's another week at that point, it's not gonna matter.
Then that would give us the time to get the answers that you guys need or the information you need. Okay.
And with the city question, I guess I would be comfortable with just having Bill, if you wanna meet with them and go over water and fire
Sure.
with them. I mean, I don't think we need to have a board meeting to have that. I think just as long as it's checked and.
No, I get a hold of Jason and Randy and talk with them, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that the chief's been running after school traffic numbers too, to kind of look at how traffic flow would be impacted and stuff, so I think those three
Okay,
would be good for that.
Is there a reason we're not looking at the week, the 24th? I mean, if we're kind of still sitting here going, do we or don't we? I mean, if we want to push it to the April 8th meeting, fine, but we kind of were looking at that week of the 17th, but
Bill, do you think we could meet with who we need to meet with next week? And get
oh yeah,
that
I think I
testing
could
done?
I could meet with probably some of them guys this week.
Or even if we wanted to meet the first week in April, if we just have a special meeting where we just talk about all of this and not do it in a board meeting, I mean, I don't know what your guys' schedule looks like for that week, but.
You said the 31st is no good for you.
looking at March, right?
Yeah, or like April 1st or somewhere in there.
31st I could not do. First, if it's in the morning, I can do. The second I can do anytime. The third is out.
What's Wednesday, the 2nd look like?
my schedule's pretty open. I like the idea of discussing it outside of a board meeting, just because
It's just gonna be a lot of discussion. Just do a special meeting.
Yeah, then we can just focus on that. What's that, Rob?
At 5:30.
If that's what you guys want to do, that works.
So Wednesday night. Fine with me, but if there's anybody with church. You'd be okay with that? Probably.
I just had a bunch of stuff pop in my calendar when I clicked on the second.
We don't wanna meet earlier.
My husband's calendar popped into mine, so never mind, not me.
I have a 9 and 11 that day, but
Do you want to go a little earlier? Would that be easier? Then that way you can still hit church if you want to. You could go like at. I'm not after work. 4:30 doable for you that day? You think you can make that work, Robin, or no? Let's do 4:30. That way people can still get to church if they want to by 6 or whatever.
Mary, would you do a calendar invite, please?
So 4:30 on April 2nd, a special meeting. Try to get answers on the SB 216 or any other maybe things that might have some reference. Bill will talk to the city. What else was there? Is that it?
Storm drain.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can.
Oh, the storm, getting the testing done. For
Yep.
Okay,
And Bill, I'll prepare a drawing for you, that shows the location of the water main, the existing grade on top of the water main and the proposed grade. Just
should be good.
focused elevations, because there's not really a profile of that water mains, because we don't know exactly how deep it is, but
Sure.
on the fire hydrant, it says it's 6 foot, six bury, so it's pretty normal.
Okay.
It's not shallow and it's not deep, so.
I was gonna say, is there any chance it's deeper and you wouldn't need the installation?
If the city had, good record drawings of the installation, but I think it was in the early nineties. So the best guess we have is, opening the valve box and seeing how deep the valve is, and on the hydrant, there's a stamp that says it's 6 foot 6 deep. So it's a good indication.
Sure.
Okay, that's all good then. Thank you guys.
What's that?
You wanna maybe come to the city meeting? Would that be helpful?
Yeah,
I'll set something up with you.
good.
That works. Thank you guys. I think that's good discussion, just so we know where we're going with it. Okay, next item.
Thank you, Michelle.
Do you have
I
anything
don't,
else
you
with
need to
us?
stick around, Jason, if you don't want to.
You can really hang out if you want, but you can go home too. So we have our appointments to the Deadwood City Board of Education.
Okay, so it's March 17th, and then Lee, it's 2 p.m. On the same day, March 17th, it's 12:30 in Deadwood. Two o'clock in Lead and 12:30 in Deadwood. I can do it again.
I don't want to, so go for it.
Said March 17th.
March 17th.
I can do Deadwood. If you really want me to, but if somebody else wants to, just because you guys haven't had an opportunity to go sit,
It's a lot of
do
fun.
the equalization stuff. It's very exciting.
I'll do Deadwood.
Okay, 12:30.
Can we?
Last year, we had one thing,
Family.
like 5 minutes. Hopefully it's that way again this year. I don't know.
I don't know, they raised lead taxes.
It's different, that's.
I know, they raised my taxes like 17%, so.
Okay. So Amber Deers will do Lead and Robin will do Deadwood. And you don't get anything beforehand, so just put it on your calendar and show up at the city hall at 12:30.
Do we need two at each or just one at each?
One.
I'll be there.
1 and 2. city
And it'll
commission.
still be Mayor Ruth. So he is very precise. Right at 12:30. Okay. We are looking at this one contract.
Before that, Mr. Jacobs is gonna introduce.
Oh, yeah, student representative.
Yeah, so we are fortunate enough to be joined by our newest student representative to the board, okay, Miss Rayleigh Williams, who's a senior this year. We had quite a few people that, students that ended up being interested from both the junior and senior class. And it was hard to select, but some of what Rayleigh is gonna tell you about why she wanted this position, she kind of stood out from the rest of the candidates. So she's got just a few things she's gonna go with you tonight, tell you a little bit about herself, why she wanted to do this job. And then we got some plans in the works for next month. She's gonna have some conversations with the elementary and the middle school, their student council and get some updates from there. But she's got some updates from our high school, from the student side. And yeah, so Rayleigh, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Hi, I'm really happy to be here. I'm super interested in government, and so it's really nice to be able to kind of, I guess, experience that on a local level. But I guess for what's going on and stuff, so we had a couple activities start this month, track, baseball, and then the spring play. I don't think we've done that before to my knowledge, so that's really cool to see. And then this month, Maeve Campbell placed first in the 100-yard breaststroke at state swimming. And then Eddie Adkins placed 7th in state wrestling. And then month in February, choir and band always go to Rapid and do a contest, but unfortunately due to the cold weather, that got canceled. But we are doing makeups for that. So the bands was today and then the choirs is towards the end of the month. And then, prom's coming up next month. And, I was talking to the prom committee and it sounds like it's fully funded and they have all their decorations for that figured out, so that's really nice. And then Mr. Jacobs asked me to share, a little bit about, paging. So for the last 2 years, I've been a page at the legislature. My first year I served in the House and then this year in the Senate. It's really fun to be there and I was there for 2 weeks. I basically just sit in on committees and the session and just help with whatever needs done. But you really get to see how they interact with each other. They're really civil, which is surprising. You don't always see that in the news. But they're always very, very, very civil with each other. Especially like contentious debates where you think that they get a little nasty. They always try to keep that decorum up. But then I also got to see a lot of controversial bills passed. Off the top of my head, there was SB 51 and that affected schools pretty heavily. So I got to see that passed in the Senate while I was there. And then, of course, the eminent domain one in the House, I got to see that. So it was really cool to be there and meet other students who are also interested in government and just, yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome to doing this. We appreciate it. I think it's a neat change that we've never had before, and I appreciate everybody that's worked on it to get it going. I know it was not an easy thing to do, so cool to have you here. I like it.
Thanks, Riley.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're to this one contract.
Yep, there's no material changes to the swim contract from what current arrangement is. One change we had last year was that the school, and Dan and I need to probably sit down and figure out just what that's gonna look like, but the school needs to provide supervision in the locker rooms. Which absolutely is our responsibility. It's just logistically, we don't have an extra employee sitting around with nothing to do. So, it kind of takes all day for 6 weeks. So it's a little bit of a scramble to get that lined up. Looking at probably having a cost increase next year. I think this year they went with the same cost as prior times. And these are some things like I don't necessarily think about. The swimming agreement has been in place for years and years. But next year we're gonna be looking at probably a cost increase. And where some of that cost comes from is that the rec center has to hire lifeguards to be there and to do those swim lessons. Well, while our kids are there during that time, they don't have other people, they're not serving anybody else. So like that, those lifeguards' time during that period is just for us. So it probably makes sense that they take a big loss on it. So that's something that we're gonna kind of prepare for and budget for next year. And we're gonna meet with some people from the city, Jeremy and whoever else they're gonna have there, along with Dan and Will Maldy, who will be our elementary PE teacher next year. We're gonna actually have a sit-down meeting, which will be the first time since I've been around that we've done that. We'll do that here I think it's in May, early May.
Yeah.
May 12th, I think. And hash things out for next year, so we don't have any surprises. But anyway, we just need to approve that contract, get that in place. If you have any further questions, go ahead and fire them away.
And this is the contract for the stuff starting this year.
Yes, it's the contract for like what's happening in 2 weeks. Yeah.
The, amount is 1,500.
That's what it's already been, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as I remember, yeah.
And this isn't new. They did talk. I do remember us talking a little bit about it last year of like, hey, we might have to start looking at increases. I think the only thing Dr. Pearson and I had talked about is we'd like to see this contract maybe, like we will probably see it again fairly soon for next school year. And get it done earlier than waiting till like 2 weeks before. So we'll probably see it again, when we start looking at contracts for next school year. So, okay. We just need a motion to approve the contract to go into it for this year.
To approve this one contract.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Need to sign something?
Yes.
The next item is administrator reports. Dr. Pearson, we will start with you.
Just real quick here, and I guess with our high school principal position, we've been getting a nice number of applications. We're up to 11 applications so far that we've received. The job is open till the 19th. Interviews happening on the 25th. And so the interview team will consist of 2 board members, 2 high school staff members, as well as our high school secretary. I'll be on there, and 2 parent representatives. So kind of a large group, 8 people in the room. And there are so many other representative groups that we could have in there too, but it just, it gets a little intimidating when you get 8, 10, 12 people around the table in an interview. So, some things we've kind of talked about, and Mark and I have talked a little about, where we're at with things in the high school and where we think things need to go, and we're kind of on the same page with that. You know, we've been fortunate to have somebody that is really a strong relationship guy, and we don't really want to lose that. I think that's important to everybody. And then also we've done some things, or Mark's done some things the last few years to kind of move us forward with the instructional piece. And so we want somebody that's a strong instructional leader, that balance. Of course, everybody wants the complete package. You want somebody that's good at everything, but those I think are 2 of the kind of top priorities going forward. And would you agree? And feel free to disagree, but.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that we've done a lot of work, in the last 4 or 5 years with getting a solid foundation set, to propel us forward in the future. And our next step is exactly, it's more of the instructional leadership piece. It's getting, we went through our cognitive review last year. And I would urge you to continue to look at that. I mean, they put a model out there for continuous improvement in instructional organization. And we got a heck of a document back that gives us a map to start to continue to push towards some of those goals, continue to make our school better.
And then like our positions, the open positions that we've got out there, as you know, just class size numbers by policy are pushing up to where a couple of those will pop back up to 3 sections where they had dropped down to 2. And it's kind of unfortunate because it'd be nice if it was like, we're getting 10 more kids in 4th grade. You know, it doesn't really happen that way. We get like 1 or 2 over the line. And so, it's always, so the approach we're taking, Dan has hired, 1 elementary teacher to replace Tom Paulson, who's coming over, to the middle school. And then knowing that we'll probably need 2, due to class size, we're hiring 1 at this time. Then when we get past like kindergarten screening time, you know, we want to try and hire early, but since the numbers are so close to the line, we'd like to have a better picture of where we're at in a few weeks. So there could be likely another elementary opening that he'll be filling at that time. And then I don't want to steal anybody's thunder if other principals are going to talk about who they're hiring, but I guess I'll just keep it brief. We're making good progress. You know, I've talked to a lot of people in other schools, and I guess I want to commend the board. And some of you haven't been here for the process, you're kind of new to it, but we very deliberately have put some pressure on our base salary, as well as some strong raises to bring our average salaries up, our median salary. And I think that is starting to pay dividends because we're not flooded with applications, but in talking to other schools, even some larger schools, we're really doing pretty well. And so that's where some of those decisions that maybe seem a little painful on the budget, those things pay dividends down the road because you're able to get quality applicants. So I guess I want to commend the board for that, for having the foresight to put our salaries in a competitive place. So that's all I have for tonight.
Okay. We'll go to Mr. Van Bibber, please.
Yes. All right. So I always like to start with current enrollment. We're at 245 right now, which is good. Haven't lost a bunch of kids, and But, I'll talk in just a minute about the kindergarten, enrollments and registration process and screening, but, the interview hiring update for the elementary. I feel like the Huskers in the nineties, like we were putting together a championship caliber team. We're gonna make a run, right? Okay, maybe the Patriots in the early 2000s. Okay, the Chiefs lately, like, come on, we got this thing rocking. We were very fortunate to get a few, outstanding, offers made and hires approved tonight with Riley Andrus and Brianna Owen and Leah Peterson and Will Mulvey coming down. I mean, I'm excited. So, that's looking really good. Family night just happened. There may or may not be a video of me out on the internet in a Cat in the Hat costume in the middle of the street. Just saying. We had about 300 people. For this last one, I think was down just a little, but it was literacy night, so it's not as fun as like math and STEM and science. No offense, sorry. We had spaghetti dinner, which was really nice this time. Liz Frith put that on, so appreciate her help there. Popcorn, cotton candy. We had bingo for books. Joe donated some books from the library. I purchased some additional books and kids got bingos and one free book, so that was kind of cool. Various literacy activities, and then Stephanie and company helped to put together some literacy bags for every single elementary student with some activities and other things in there, so that's kind of nice. The kids that didn't attend, we estimated maybe just under 100. We only had 86 bags picked up, but there are a number of kids that didn't go get their bags. It was in a different location this time, but literacy bags. Let's see what else. Guiding Coalition Committee has started. That's something that I've had on the radar for a while. Just wanted to kind of see how the year would go. So we have a leadership committee now. Their main role is to gather and distribute information to staff, to provide input, make reflections on things like family night, and then be that increased communication piece as well for things that are going on. Let's see, math curriculum update. We've kind of pivoted a little. We were looking at two curriculums. We've kind of now aligned ourselves with the middle school, going with just one for the time being. With social studies coming in next year and everything, we thought maybe it would be a little easier just to focus our attention on one. So math and U is where we're gonna be piloting next year, full on. So they provide some excellent training for our staff prior to the year starting and throughout the year. So kindergarten registration and screening, as I mentioned earlier, it's trending toward more incoming kindergartners than were originally on the radar. We're +5 in that category right now, as far as number of kids we expected to be registered at this point versus the ones that are coming in, so. PE program, just finished up skiing. This week they're doing snowshoeing, although it's more like mud shoeing. So I had the third graders came back today, and it may have been a few tears, and some kids fell, but overall, I think they had a pretty good experience. And then we have upcoming swimming unit, as we had mentioned earlier, so that's coming up very soon. So other upcoming events, I would strongly urge you to come be a part of it. Sarah, please, if you have any interest in any of these things, it's just great to get some recognition for our staff and our kids. We have a lady, Joyce Jefferson, on Friday, who's coming to do a Sarah Campbell presentation for 4th and 5th grade, which is going to be kind of like a preview for famous faces for our 5th graders. She does the first person account of this Sarah Campbell, who's one of the first non-native women in the Black Hills in the area. So she's an African-American lady, and she's famous for like her versions of this, the history stories of the area. So pretty cool. One of the things that was also on my radar this year is going to happen next week, quarterly awards assemblies. This may sound a little cheesy, but you know, we're down in the elementary, so we get to do that. We have the Golden Nugget Award. Every classroom is going to be nominating a student for Gold Nugget, which is outstanding academic achievement.
Then we have the Pickaxe and Shovel Award, which is our most improved or biggest effort student for each classroom. And then we have the Magnificent Minor, which would be our Kids of Character Citizenship Award. So each classroom will nominate those. In addition to that, we will have PE award, music, STEM, art, and a library certificate as well for students who have shown outstanding effort in those areas. And then I want to incorporate the attendance policy awards that we've been doing for the quarterly. So I'll get you those numbers as soon as I can so you can get them to me. So yeah, that's pretty exciting stuff. We're going to start that. Kids will get their award. They'll get to go to a prize table. I was able to solicit some donations from various businesses with like, Taco John's and things where kids get like a free taco or whatever if they choose that from the prize table. So, let's see. April 8th, we have Career Day for our kids. So kind of a separate like K2, 3, 5 program. K2 is going to have stations within their classrooms about some career possibilities. 3 through 5 will be more of a career fair style with different booths. Kids will take a interest survey and then they'll attend booths that are related to their results of their survey. So that's Amanda Bender and her interim intern, Paxton. They're putting that all together for the kids. So you should see a thrill share coming out tomorrow, asking parents of the district if they have any interest in presenting at that for the career day. Pastries with your people is coming up April 10th. We've been talking with PTO about that. That's 7. We're gonna back it up a little to 7:15 because I guess it's been a little congested and chaotic in the past. We're gonna try to open up out the door, down the block. Like we're gonna try to have a couple different lines going and stuff already pre-prepared, ready to roll. Possibly even looking at going up into the auditorium as well, depending if that space is needed. Couple more, bringing back history committee update. All of our historical pictures are up with the placards around the building, which is really cool to see. Our time capsule, thank you, Bill, for getting that arranged for us, has now been put in a case and mounted. Originally, we were gonna mount it in our lunchroom, but Bill had an idea to put it more central as you first walk in the building. So if you ever go in there, look up, it's right there. Working on a placard and maybe a little title for that as well, hopefully by the end of the year. Gwen has applied for a couple different grants. We're looking to raise some money between now and the end of the year to bring in display cases, trophy cases, things like that. She has applied for, I believe it's upwards of $6,000 worth of grants from a couple different places. We're gonna have a fundraiser concert, dinner and silent auction. Nina McIntyre's, she performed at the Opera House a couple of months ago. She's a world-renowned pianist with ties to the area. She's volunteering her time to put on a concert in conjunction with a couple of songs from the jazz band from the high school to do a concert. We'll have a dinner and a silent auction as well. That's on May 9th at 5:30. I believe, I think it's 5:30. But it's definitely May 9th. State testing, of course, that's right around the corner. We've solidified our dates. It's kind of wonky with Easter being in the middle of it, but April 15th through the 17th, and then 23rd through the 25th. And then end of the year music concert, another big thing coming up May 1st, kind of the same style we did in the winter. It'll be at the high school auditorium with the K2 and then the intermission with student council helping to do a little fundraiser, and then the 3-5 at the end. And then, like Dr. Pearson said, the excitement of possibly getting, some more 3 sections of different grade levels for next year. We'll see how the numbers pan out, but I'm pretty excited for that. It's gonna cause a little bit of movement in the building, but we'll have to all just kind of pitch in, right? All right, so I think if I missed something, it was not intentional, I promise. There's a lot, like, it's just exciting every day in the elementary.
Do everything.
We were on track for a pretty quick meeting.
All right.
All right, Mr. Beadle, your turn.
So, yeah.
You go last.
So, a couple things here. One of the projects that, kind of came out, lately, Oliver Renner, parent, of one of some of our students in the district and one of our students that, tragically, passed away a few years ago, came up with an idea of wanting to have a little bit, better, visuals for, middle school achievement, whether that be in sports, academics, those kind of things. So, and we get a lot more traffic kind of around gym two for those kind of things. So we've dedicated a spot out, in the hallway outside of gym two that we're going to use to create this, kind of, it's not just a shrine for his son, but it's a shrine for, or not a shrine, it's just a spot where we can make sure that, middle school kids are recognized for the great things that they do. So Bill, really been helpful in getting that rolling, and I appreciate Bill with all the stuff that he does. So that's gonna get rolling pretty soon, and we should have those things, started before the end of the school year, definitely. And if you know where the, Hall of Fame, where the Hall of Fame plaques look, it's gonna, some of that's gonna look really similar to that, so we have kind of a streamlined look, for those awards. So anyway, really looking forward to that. Brandon, Webb, our school resource officer, has been communicating with, I know he's talked to Dr. Pearson, talked to me, talked to the seventh grade, staff who he does DARE with, and that curriculum is kind of past its due with how it affects, and how it relates to middle school students. So he's really excited, about looking at developing some better options for, more meaningful conversations with seventh grade students about more relevant topics, that we have. We're going to continue DARE in the elementary side, still believe that's more appropriate for that grade level, but, so he's gonna do some work and look at some stuff that we can do, that meets the needs of our middle schools currently in 2025. So, that'll be coming, down the pike a little bit. Just this past Friday, we had our student council, really proud of our student council there and our staff, supervisors. They, the students came up with this idea of having a scavenger hunt, and they created a scavenger hunt for each grade, and we did this on Friday, on our early out, a couple of their last periods, totaled to be about an hour, but kids were busy, they had a lot of fun. It was a really good thing for all kids to be involved in, so our student council is doing a nice job of trying to get all kids involved in stuff. Again, parent-teacher conferences are coming up. Dan talked about that a little bit. We're scheduled, with all that. One thing that, our school counselor is doing is gonna have, top of the hour topics. And this will be, for all parents that come in and we know that parents aren't gonna be there for the full 5 hours or whatever we got. But on the top of each hour, there's gonna be, little sessions that she's organized. The first one at 2 p.m. is going to be causes and consequences of sleep deprivation. I think parents will be really, intrigued with that. The second one will be, why does my middle schooler stink?
Yes.
The next one will be sugar intake, good or bad. Officer Webb's going to do one on personal safety. And then there's going to be one on social media dangers, that everybody should know about, parents should know about. So, she's really done a nice job with, kind of getting that going, and hopefully can bring, parents, more parents in and have them, get some knowledge about some things. Again, we've talked about this all night, the staffing, issues and some of the highlights that we've had, and we really got some wins, going on, and I couldn't be happier. These unicorns that are out there that we've finally found, and it's really exciting. I mean, this Trev Fiedler guy, I mean, he's gonna be good. I mean, I'm really excited about him. And then Leah Peterson, again, there's a story behind Leah Peterson. Dr. Pearson was at state wrestling, and
another superintendent from Bonham. They have known each other for a while and they got to talking anyway. Somehow these things come to fruition and got to talking with her and was able to get her hired, and she's really experienced gal and she's gonna be really good. And really excited about having Mr. Paulson from the elementary come up. He's brings a lot of energy and that's a good thing. So it really is. And lastly, on the SPED side of stuff, Dr. Pearson has certified our child count for the year. And we are at, I think I talked to you back in December about this, or maybe it was in November, that we were up to 120 students receiving special education services in the school district. Just to give you a little history, last year, on December 1st, 2023, we're at 117, and 2022, we are at 106. So again, that number is not getting smaller. It's a need. So we just continue to identify the kids that need help and we help them. So, any questions for me?
No, not at all. Thank you for that.
All right, thank you.
At the top of the hour, was that, could it be something that was sent on to parents before parent teacher conference?
It'll be sent out, yeah, before parent teacher conference. Yep.
Mr. Jacobs?
All right, well, since Rayleigh did such a good job, I think that covers my portion. No, I got a few other things. So tomorrow we are doing pre-registration for next year's classes. So our timeline's just slightly under a month and a half ahead of where we've been doing that in the past. So hopefully we can get some better working numbers and a closer master schedule built before the end of the year. Obviously, there's going to be some changes depending on staffing and students passing their courses and things like that. But we should have a lot better idea when we send our teachers off at the end of May, what they're going to need to be prepared for. So we'll do that. We sent out some information to parents last week. Then we can start to work with our middle school and get some of this schedules put in place. Really excited they found a CT teacher because that was kind of a chink in our chain there. So smarter balance testing, we just kind of finalized that today. If you remember a couple of years ago, we started splitting that up a little bit instead of just knocking it out in like a day or two. So we split up the English testing into 2 separate sessions, same with math, and science is just one because it's a lot shorter test. So it'll be April 3rd, April 9th, and April 16th. It gives us some more wiggle room before it gets to the end of the window in case we have to get kids caught up. Because if you're aware, we do get graded on our percentages of students that successfully completed that. Last week, we also completed with our CT team our CT application, which is all of our courses that would be fully CT approved for next year. It always seems early to me because you never know how things are gonna shake out there the rest of the spring, but we got that accomplished and that's in. And now we're starting to put together our Perkins application, which is for our larger equipment purchases. Last year, we were able to get a new freezer and refrigerator for the new fax room. This year, our number one ask is going to be for the commercial stove that we were able to get put in last year. We're also asking that they pay for the hood to put in as well, and so it's not going to be cheap. But it's been a really good program, and hopefully it continues to pay dividends and improving the industry standard that we're trying to put forth in our programs. We have a guy, Lisa Stegner's brother-in-law, actually, who is here this week doing some cool things in our shop class. It's combined both our welding department and our woods. He is an electrician by trade, so he's brought in a lot of materials, all on his own dime. They're building some walls, working on electrical boxes, a lot of practical application. So it's a whole week worth of stuff that they're getting some hands-on experience, which should be really neat. We're hoping to continue that partnership. If we can get it worked out next year to where he comes out in the fall and in the spring, so catch as many kids as possible. Rayleigh mentioned prom coming up. We're excited to have prom back for the first time in I don't know how long here at the school with Grand March. Still trying to work out some of the logistics of the transition, but it's coming together pretty smooth. Excited about having all of our kids here, not as much transportation running around that evening. Scholarship stuff's coming in. Our students have been working hard these last few weeks, getting all their scholarship packets filled out and turned in. They'll be due at the end of this week. Our English department has graciously volunteered to stay after school and help students with some of their essays, trying to improve the level of professionalism that they're applying for those. And there's a lot of different committees that read those, and we want to make sure that we put our students put their best foot forward. Spring play coming back. We're excited about that. We're going to do student performance for the student body on Tuesday, April 8th. And then we're waiting for confirmation. Dates are really, really hard this time of year. And we don't like to do things on Wednesdays, but reached out to the ministerial services to ask what their opinion is if we held that on Wednesday night, due to some conflicts on student schedules and our actors. So they have a meeting this week. We'll know whether that's going to take place or not. If not, we'll adjust and we'll figure it out. Government Day will be coming up next week. This is an awesome tradition. I think that, I don't know how long it's been around, but it seems to be a great day every year. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get the kids signed up for it. And then we always have awesome things to say when they get back. So we had a sign up today. We got everybody placed. That'll be all day on Monday. So you'll see some of them running around Deadwood, and you know, the fire hall and the American Legion puts on a good lunch for all the kids, and we're so excited about that opportunity. We also have a couple other real neat things going on. The last few years, we've had the biomedical science class we weren't able to offer this year. And that led to some partnership with the USD medical students that would come out every year and do some work with our kids. They are still going to return in a slightly different capacity, but we're excited about having them join us and get to answer some questions that our kids might have that are interested in that field. As awesome as the hiring update sounded from the other guys, the high school principal has had a few sleepless nights. But the good thing is, we'll start with positive here. Mr. Maldy is heading down to the elementary, back where his roots started for this district, and we're super happy for him. But that leaves a hole here at the high school. So I've been working with Zach. We have a lot of applicants for PE, which is wonderful. An array from veteran applications to first years and everything in between. So we've been fine tooth and combing those. We have our first batch of interviews scheduled for Thursday. While we are also looking for a head football coach, I want to make sure that I put this statement out there. A few years ago when we were hiring a head football coach, I had a pair come up to me, and I won't use their name, but they're pretty strong representative of our community, and everybody's talking about the football hire. And he made a comment to me, what about the science? Because our science scores aren't that great. And I've kept that in the back of my head this whole time as we go through this, because we want to find the best quality candidate teacher that we can have and coach. And keeping that in mind as we go through this process is really important for us. English and science are a little bit tougher right now. I know last year, I haven't got any current numbers from Black Hills State, but last year they had 6 science secondary graduates that were going into education. So the field it's small. And Dr. Pearson referenced something earlier, which I thought was good. Talking with some other school districts, we are keeping on pace with our apps, whether that be big schools like in Rapid City and Douglas, or some of the smaller schools. So we still got lots of time. Got some different options, but we're going to continue to try to fill the best position that we can and the best employee that we can hire for those. Last, this was kind of fun. I don't know what you guys heard, what you didn't hear, but we had a training exercise last week with our SRO and Deadwood Police Department. We had a undercover officer that was let in a side door, which is generally been a thorn in our side when it comes to logistics of this building and all the exterior exits. And we wanted to see how long it was going to take somebody to identify that there was somebody in our building that they didn't recognize, that wasn't necessarily friendly or wasn't head. So they walked around the building, dressed him up a little bit shady. He had some different things he had to do. 3 minutes, and we had a student that realized that guy probably didn't need to be there. And when he said hello to him, he didn't respond. And he went right to his teacher, and we had a phone call to the office, which was great. And we continued the exercise. And we had two other staff members, one at 5 minutes and one at about 8 minutes that had called down and recognized. And then our fearless counselor actually went down and grabbed him and marched him to the office. So we're gonna talk about that person and how we are gonna handle that in the future. But I was super happy with our staff because, you know, the day gets busy and especially during classroom time. They're in their room, they're teaching, they're doing their thing, kids are where they're supposed to be. They're not looking through the door to see what's going on. So I was super pleased with the results of that. And then we had a staff meeting, we talked about it, and just something to be aware of, something to keep our toes on. And I think this was a little more practical instead of just yelling at them all the time to keep those outside doors not propped open. This is why. So yeah, that's it for the high school.
Thank you. AD.
Yeah, we just kind of are getting our winter sports seasons wrapped up here. Basketball, finished last week with the boys, the girls the week before that, and then wrestling. The winter sports season was pretty good for us. It felt like there was a lot of improvement kind of across the board there. Our girls broke a 48-game losing streak during the basketball season. They had 3 total wins for the year, you know, which, like, if you go back, you could add about 5 years up to get 3 wins there. So it feels like Chad's got those girls going in the right direction. The boys season, if you paid attention to that, you know, they had 7 wins, pretty close to going 500 there. Probably 6 or 7 opportunities within 10 points, you know, besides that, and 4 or 5 of those are within 3 points. So, you know, I had a chance in almost every game. I kind of put a graphic out about this, but Bo Wichterman scored his 1,000th point this year. I think he finished with 1,026 total. I mean, he actually scored it prior to the Custer game. We just had to do some digging kind of right before that to find scores in 5 games that were missing from our huddle record. So we had to call some school districts and have them go back and look at their stat books. And Dan told Bo he was at 999 points. So he had to score 1 to get it down in Custer. But they were able to kind of celebrate that. He got to keep the game ball. Landon and I went down to watch that. So it was pretty cool to see after that. Our wrestling team sent 5 kids to state, 3 boys, 2 girls. They also had 2 girls that were alternates, so they were the state's choice of leftover wrestlers who didn't make it at their weight class to represent in case someone got sick or injured prior to the tournament. And I think in the entire tournament, so A's, B's, and girls, there were 4 alternates that they used. So there is always kind of a chance for that. Eddie Atkins was our lone placer in 7th place, but the 4 other wrestlers that made it to state made the blood round, which means they were 1 match away from placing. So kind of right there in the mix. Only graduating 1 wrestler from both the boys and girls team. So it feels like, again, that's going in the right direction. I know now the task at hand is going to be finding someone to take over for Mike. I know he did a really good job with that program and has it moving in the right direction. Track has started now. They have some pretty good numbers. It looks like somewhere between 40 and 45 boys and girls are out for high school track. The pole vaulters have been going since February over in the multi-purpose room, and Coach Maldy has been pretty excited about all the outdoor practices they've been able to have this year so far. So the track's staying pretty clear for them. With that, the end of the winter sports season, we've had quite a few kids in the weight room here. My mornings are filling up, and then after school, I have kids from 6th grade all the way, you know, through high school in there. So that looks pretty promising moving into kind of the summer stuff we'll be doing. So Thursday morning, I have a meeting with all the head coaches to set up our summer schedule. Parents should get that. I would say either at the end of this month or the beginning of next month, once some of the camps and things like that get solidified. So you'll have a plan for the summer. One of the things that we're working on right now is putting together a weight room fundraiser, try and get some new equipment. I think it was 2 board meetings ago, we got rid of some of the older stuff and we want to phase in some new things here. Last summer, kind of the way we started off, we had anywhere from 25 to 30 kids in those groups. And there's just really not enough equipment that we have right now. So being able to get that going for the summer. May 20th is gonna be our all sports banquet this year, so we did not have a fall sports banquet, a winter and a spring. Instead, we're gonna do one at the end of the year, to kind of recognize everyone, that participated this year. Each individual activity was to kind of have their own banquet with their own group of people, and be a little more celebrated with the people that followed closely to that. There is a proposal through the Black Hills Conference right now that I will learn more about tomorrow. But this would kind of affect basketball and volleyball moving forward, where some of the AA schools, or I should say just the AA schools, are getting kind of pressured into the east side of the state would like to see all AA schools play at least 16 game schedule consisting, of only AA games. 19 was the number that was put out this year, and the state turned that down. But it sounds like 16 is something they're going to go for in the future. And kind of the proposal here was put together by Spearfish, actually. It's split into two divisions. So one with the big schools would have Sturgis, Spearfish, Douglas, and then St. Thomas More and Rapid City Christian. And then kind of a smaller school conference would have us, Custer, Belfouche, Hot Springs, Hill City, and Red Cloud. Some ways that could affect us moving forward. So for boys, girls basketball and volleyball, we would not have to play the teams in that bigger school division. We would have the option to schedule games with them. They could choose not to schedule with us. We could choose not to schedule with them. We would have to play all of the small schools in our division that we would be in if this went through. We aren't gonna vote on it tomorrow. I believe we're gonna go into more detail, and then the superintendents are gonna talk about it. I wanna say on the 20th, right? Is what it sounds like. So for us, some things that we're looking at there, potentially getting, 5 more competitive games for our kids. Out of that group of teams that would be in the bigger school division, Douglas is really the only school that we, have been close with in different activities, but potential to schedule some more competitive games that would include, kind of a higher travel budget for us, though, because we'd have to go a little ways to see some of those schools. Like, this year we got Dupree on the schedule for a few things. Bison's been on our schedule. We're looking at getting some games with Edgemont next year. That might be, I think volleyball right now, it's looking like we will play them. But basketball, we're gonna do some JV games with them and kind of see where this falls, for next year. And then kind of like Mark touched on there, we were able to actually move our, hiring committee or interview committee from a head football coaching position over into the PE position, because 3 of the 4 applicants that we're interviewing on Thursday are head football and PE. So, and then moving forward, we're going to be trying to fill that staff around whoever takes the position, or, whoever we find to fill that. And then looking for head wrestling coaches. So that'll open up here probably 5 days for tomorrow. But
Thank you for the update.
Can I just give an election update?
Sure.
Okay, so, Lead Area Chamber of Commerce is going to have a forum for the mayor, the city of Lead mayor candidates, and the school board candidates. It's gonna be Tuesday, March 18th at the auditorium. Beginning from 6 to 6:45, they're gonna do the mayor race, or the mayor forum. And then, from 7 to 7:45 is the school board candidates. For the mayor candidates, it's Dustin Heupel and Eddie Mons. For school board, it's the 2 incumbents, Amber and Robin and Tim Matson. 2 vacancies and 3 candidates, and you vote for 2.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We had a thank you from Gwen Hess that got added. And then we are to public forum. I don't think we had anybody fill out a form tonight for public forum, did we? No, we don't have anything there. Executive session for contract negotiation would be next. Major. Okay, so we would need a motion to go into executive session, I believe. We don't need. Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful.